Good morning. Today we're going to begin by singing something from our hymnal, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188 in the gray hymnal, if you're curious. But we are going to do something a little bit new today. So if you see the words, if you want to go ahead to the words, Julia. Yeah. So normally we sing this, and already it has this great spirit of inclusiveness and acceptance and coming no matter who you are and where you're from together in community. But there's a very important line from the original poem by Rumi that isn't in the setting in our hymnal. So the original words of the poem are, "Wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come." So today we're going to add in that extra line that is so meaningful and which, celebrates the idea that we can start anew, that we can bring our flaws as well as our ideals into community with each other, and that we have the chance to begin again and always start afresh. So I'll teach you the new line. What I'd like is, if you're on this side of the room, we're just going to say this section here, you're going to be the broken your vows 1,000 times section. So your part will sound like this. Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. That's it. Broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken. And now everyone else get ready. 1,000. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come, come, come. Good morning. Greetings, friends. I am Reverend Lara. My pronouns are she and her, and I am delighted to be here this morning with all of you. I welcome you into this space, whether you're here in person or joining us from the comfort of wherever you are virtually. You are very welcome here. I'm joined today to weave this worship with our worship associate, Kate Kirkwood, and of course, Jen Barnston. Thank you very much for being here with me today. A special welcome for those of you who are visiting for the first time or coming back after a long time. It is so good to see you here, to have you here with us. All are welcome here this morning, whether in body or in spirit, however you have found your path to this place. Whatever you are carrying, your wounds, your joys, whatever you are bringing in body or in spirit, you are very, very welcome here. After the service, please join us for coffee and fellowship and conversation in the hall there, or in this lounge here if you want to talk about what we are talking about today. Now, I know that John has given you some announcements. Will you bear with me with one more? It's on the back of your order of service as well, and there's so much more information in the newsletter that you can scan or find on the website. But I would like to specially invite you to be with us 2 weeks from now, after the service on Sunday, October 5th,
Nicoline Guerriere, who is the Canadian Unitarian Council Congregation Life staff person, will be joining me to create that worship service and also facilitating a very special workshop after the service. It's a startup workshop for our ministry together. And this is a time for all of us to share stories for you about this congregation, and I'm sure there are things that all of us can learn about this congregation from one another, and also for me to share with you about who I am and what I'm bringing, so that together as an entire community, we can shape our pathway of this ministry forward together in a good way. So please put that in your calendars, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Now, because there are so many familiar and unfamiliar faces in this space, I would like us to take a moment, if you're willing, to rise, and look around and greet one another. And if you are comfortable doing so, extend a hand of greeting to someone. Feels good. Whatever brings you here this morning, may this time that we spend together nourish you and help you to find and keep your balance in this world, that you may go out into the world and live lives of meaning and purpose and joy.
Our centering words are entitled "Committed to Respond" by Shirley Ann Rank. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world, we join together this day with loving hearts, hands, and minds, embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth. We light a fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice. May we bring forth this day new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but of well-being. A world of new peace and abundance for all. As we give thanks for this earth, our shared and singular home, may we dedicate ourselves to its ongoing care, rising to the calls deep within us and all around us. May we respond today and always with courage and with love. Oops. The tea light's gone out. We light this chalice for the web of life which sustains us, for the sacred circle of life to which we have our being, for the earth, the sky, above and below, for our Mother Earth, and for the mystery. And we'll now have the chalice lighting song. Thanks, Jen.
Each time we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death, that the circle of love and compassion and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. Let us prepare our hearts for this time of sharing with the ringing of our new singing bowl. It is the tradition of this congregation to release stones into bowls of water that represent what we're carrying in our hearts, our joys and our sorrows and our concerns, that the ripples from our hearts reach out beyond this community. As we drop the stones into the water as symbols, may they be carried by our many hearts. Today, from among our community, a stone is shared for healing wishes for Nora Hobson, who is 5 years old and had surgery on Wednesday to have her tonsils and adenoids removed. She is home recovering with her parents, Allie Hobson and Mark Brunette, and I'm sure a lot of ice cream. And we share also a stone of care and support for Kate Kirkwood and Ron Bell as they experience serious health challenges and some long recovery. And a stone for Blair Erskine, whose grandson, Zach, died unexpectedly last week at the age of 28. There are caring cards at the back of the sanctuary. I invite you all to participate in sharing your wishes. And at this time, I invite those who wish to come forward and share the stones that represent what is on your heart today. We share a few more stones of sorrow and concern for the loved ones and victims of the ongoing genocide of Palestinian people. May the ripples of our care reach those who are suffering, and also the hearts of the leaders of the world, that they might choose differently and create peace. And we offer stones of joy for those who have come here today with a joyful heart, those celebrating birthdays and anniversaries or milestones of sobriety. We celebrate all of you, and we celebrate with you. It is a truth of our human condition that on any given day there are those among us who are celebrating any of life's joys and its promises, as well as those carrying burdens. And oftentimes we carry them both simultaneously. So this last stone, as always, represents all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. And let us join now in a moment of silent reflection and prayer.
Today's anthem will be performed by Three Rivers singers. The piece is called Moeder Aarde, Aardse Moeder, with any apologies for any mispronunciations for any Afrikaans speakers in our congregation. We'll be singing it in Afrikaans, and the translation will be above us on the screen. It's by South African composer Franco Prinsloo, and the title means Mother Earth, Earthly Mother.
Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, begins at sunset tomorrow. It's a 2-day period of prayer, reflection, and renewal for Jewish people that marks the beginning of the High Holy Days, a 10-day period leading up to Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah commemorates the creation of the world, and it is a time for Jewish people to reflect on the past year, atone for their sins, and make positive resolutions for the year ahead. I think this is something we can all do. And I think it is timely to remember that every day is a new beginning, that tomorrow is an opportunity for a new way of being, to create a new world, to start a new year. In the midst of the ongoing violence and humanitarian crisis in the Holy Land, these days of reflection, repentance, and commitment to change are critical. Change happened just this morning. Did you hear? Prime Minister Mark Carney has declared that Palestine is an independent state. Change happens one day to the next. The responsive reading that I'm inviting you to participate in this morning may feel at times uncomfortable, the words. I invite you to question that discomfort and participate anyways. The hymnal was written in the responsive reading was written in the 1960s by Rabbi Jack Raymer, and it speaks deeply to this moment in time as it did to the moment in the 60s and in the 70s and in the 80s. Not only with the genocide, but in global politics and the climate crisis that is happening today and in our own personal lives, let us lift our voices through this responsive reading to amplify this prayer at the beginning of these high holy days, that this new year will bring a brighter future. Please join me. It's number 634, On Turning. Now is the time for turning. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south. The animals are beginning to turn, for leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means losing face. It means starting all over again. And this is always painful. It means recognizing that we have the ability to change. And these things are hard to do. God, help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Revive our lives as at the beginning. Amen.
Please rise in body or spirit for our next hymn, which will be Rising Green, number 1068 in the teal hymnal.
Yesterday, the annual Climate March took place across Canada and here in Ottawa under the banner, "Draw the Line." People gathered, calling for federal investment in climate-resilient housing, a national clean energy grid, taxation of mega corporations, and most importantly, following Indigenous leadership towards a just and sustainable future. This line in the sand was much more than politics. It was a moral and spiritual call for a line in the sand for all of us. What kind of future do we choose, and will we participate in? What path will we journey on together? The urgency of this march and the message from yesterday was palpable throughout the city. Anybody driving anywhere yesterday experienced that. But it was not simply a rally about emissions targets or energy grids. It was a cry from the heart, a demand that our leaders act with courage and vision for people and the planet, not for profit. And it reminded us, as a people of faith, that climate change is not only a scientific or political issue, it is also a deeply spiritual one. It touches every aspect of our lives, our bodies, our families, our communities, our futures. It touches our grief, our fear, our capacity for hope, our resilience, and our courage. Climate change is not a distant threat. We witness it daily. The wildfires and floods and hurricanes and heat waves altering landscapes all across the planet. And from this corner of the world that we inhabit, maybe feels somewhat sheltered, But we're not immune. We all smelled the smoke this summer. The crisis is here, the crisis is now. A congregant recently shared with me a NASA article from 2021, which seemed to have been lost from our attention, in which scientists project, and not to make you even more scared, but scientists project that in the mid-2030s, rising sea levels will combine with natural lunar nodal cycle, which is an 18-and-a-half-year rhythm that amplifies the tides. The result will be recurrent coastal flooding, sometimes occurring daily for weeks at a time, as the rising sea levels and this cycle of high tides combine. Imagine what this means for cities and families and for those already living precariously near coasts and on low-lying islands. This is 10 years away, my friends. The crisis is real and the timeline is short. Unitarian Universalists, we ground our environmental action in our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence, of which we are a part. And today we are also guided by the newly adopted statements of values, which are interdependence and pluralism and justice and transformation, generosity and equity, with love at the center. These values, centered on a lasting commitment to love, guide us not only in affirming what we believe, but in how we act, in how we are in the world. It shapes our responses to everything. Our seventh principle teaches us that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger web. And our values remind us that responding to climate change is not simply about survival, but about shaping a world that is compassionate and inclusive and transformative. And together, they call us into relationship, not ownership of the earth. Not hierarchy, but mutuality. The old proverb reminds us we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And when we recognize this, we shift from entitlement to responsibility. And then there's the grief and the anger and the fear associated with the climate crisis, and these are also real and need to be acknowledged and responded to. The Unitarian Universalist Association president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, the previous president, wrote that climate change is a source of profound loss. It creates collective trauma for us as a people and the planet. And we know that there is more yet to come. Those who care about humanity's future feel anger at those who scoff at the dangers and would deny the existence of the science that proves it. Yet accepting doom as inevitable is a barrier to effective organizing. And we're good organizers, and we like to be effective. We also know this grief. And we feel the anger and the despair. We feel it when we watch the wildfires and we wonder if our summers will ever again smell of pine instead of smoke. And we feel it when we talk to children of the futures they will inherit. And we feel it when we see climate refugees displaced from their homes with no welcoming place to shelter. And the grief can overwhelm us. It can paralyze us. But grief is not the end. It can be the beginning of resilience, of solidarity, of renewed courage. But we need to organize that. So here I turn to the wisdom of Joanna Macy. Anyone out there familiar with Joanna Macy? She died this past summer in July at the age of 96. But boy, did she leave us a legacy of work. She was an environmentalist, activist, author, and scholar of Buddhism, general systems theory, and deep ecology. And her book, Active Hope, How to Face the Mess We're In with Unexpected Resilience and Creative Power. How's that for a title? She updated that book to follow the pandemic, to recognize the impact that the pandemic had 3 years ago at the age of 93. She taught that experiencing anguish and grief in response to the world's pain is essential for staying connected. To feel grief is to love deeply. And to mourn is to remember how much this world matters. Macy's Spiral of Active Hope is a 4-stage framework within her larger work that reconnects. The work that reconnects, I believe there was a workshop or a series here that somebody led on the work that reconnects. Am I remembering that? Yeah, we might do that again, eh? So this work provides a pathway to meaningful engagement. There are 4 steps. The first one, and I'm going to give you a couple lists this morning. The first one is come from gratitude, to ground ourselves in appreciation for life. Gratitude shifts our focus to abundance and connection. It energizes us. So the second thing is to honor the pain for the world, to feel the grief and anger and sorrow, because denying it is denying our deep love of the world. And the third step in this spiral is to see with new eyes, to remember our interdependence and capacity for transformation, to look again and realize that we are not powerless. And then the fourth step is to go forth again, renewed, to act with courage and creativity and resilience. Renewal is not a one-time event, but a practice. This is a spiral. It's not a linear process. It is a rhythm that we revisit again and again and again. Gratitude leads to grief. Grief to new vision to action, and action back to gratitude. It is a living, moving, breathing act of resilience in practice. So in 2021, another paper came out. Bioethicists David Schenk and Larry Churchill published an essay called, and here's another great title, Ethical Maxims for a Barely Inhabitable Planet. Oh, it's a fun read. It offers 6 adaptive maxims drawn from bioethics work in ICUs and in hospices to guide us through the devastation and transition following environmental and social collapse. These 6 maxims are: work hard to grasp the immensity of change. This means to be informed. Clarity must precede wise action. We cannot respond to what we do not understand. And the second is to cultivate radical hope. This is the hope that reappears after optimism has died. They're different things. This hope, it is stubborn and it is brave. Number 3, and this one's really interesting. Have a line in the sand. Decide what you will do and what you refuse to do. It might be, I'm never getting on a jet again. It might be, I am buying that electric vehicle, or I am never getting on, I'm not going to buy a different kind of vehicle. Now, I am feeling really guilty here because my vehicle is gas-powered. So that's a line that I need to consider, right? We all need to find our lines in the sand. The 4th one is appreciate the astonishing opportunity of life at this time. So like Macy's invitation to gratitude, this maxim invites us and reminds us to refill our wells of joy and beauty and connection. The 5th maxim, train your body and mind. Care for yourself physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually, because a resilient self can support others in their struggles. And the 6th one, act for the future generations of all species. To expand our moral imaginations to include all the beings in the web of life. We act not only for our children, but for the forests and the rivers and the creatures who cannot speak for themselves. We act for the wild. These maxims, like Macy's spiral, are practices that shape our hearts and our habits, and they resonate strongly with Unitarian Universalist values of transformation, justice, equity, and generosity, and they remind us that the way forward must be grounded not only in science, but in love and interdependence. And for those of you who are scrambling to take notes, I made a cheat sheet. Yeah. So these are the 2 lists I just gave you. These are the 4 Joanna Macy's spiral of active hope and the 6 ethical maxims that I just laid out. You can take this home. They're at the back on the table. We can make more copies if we need to, but I thought you might want to revisit this around your dinner table, in the discussion group afterwards, just to think and come up with your own ideas about, how do I come back to a place of gratitude? How can I see this with new eyes? And what do I need to know to truly understand what is happening in the world in order to commit to respond to it? I know you guys like your homework. We need both spiritual resilience and systemic change. And Canada's climate adaptation strategy from a few years ago, it aims to protect biodiversity and to prevent deaths from extreme heat and safeguard communities from fire and flood. That's the aim. And these are important commitments. But climate policy alone is not enough, and it is currently under attack. It's being threatened by plans to increase the harvesting of fossil fuels to boost the economy. Now, I get it. It's complicated. We need those lines in the sand. What are we willing to do, and what are we not willing to do? What is the future that we can imagine, and what's going to make that happen? We need communities of courage and love and spiritual grounding and collective imagination that can transform how people think, feel, and act towards saving our planet's ecosystems. That's you. Our religious faith and our spiritual values have a substantial role to play in giving people the strength to live with the climate crisis, even if the outcome is uncertain, even if we know it's going to hurt. This resiliency that we can build through our efforts to organize, they create the motivation to act with meaning and purpose and hope And without informed action, the possibilities for solutions never come into being, and therefore we must. Our Unitarian Universalist values give shape to our climate action. Love calls us to care for one another and for all life. And interdependence reminds us that we are part of one great web. Pluralism invites us to learn from indigenous wisdom and other faith traditions. And justice demands that we address the inequities for those who are suffering most from this crisis. Transformation encourages us to imagine new ways of living, maybe living without the comforts that we really don't need. And generosity moves us to share the resources that we have with those who do not have access to them. Equity calls us to ensure that all have what they need to flourish. And together, these values give us the moral compass to engage with policy and with action and build our own resiliency and support one another. So tomorrow, at the start of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, let us all be called to change. The reading that we shared earlier reminds us that turning is not easy. It requires will and humility, and yet, unless we turn, we remain trapped in yesterday's ways, in yesterday's story. And the climate crisis is nothing if not a call to change, to turn from despair to hope, from greed to generosity, from fear to faith. And turning is never ours alone, it is communal. Yesterday's march was a collective turning, and today's worship service here together is another, and tomorrow we get to make another choice. And each time we gather to light a chalice, to join hands and greet our neighbors, to sing, we enact a turning away from grief and anger and inaction towards life, towards justice, and towards hope. This we do together. Beyond silence, beyond science, beyond policy, what sustains us is our conviction that what we do matters. How we feel matters. How we take care of ourselves matters to the whole world. And the work before us is not easy. The climate crisis asks much of us: honesty and courage, persistence, and love that stretches beyond our own lifetimes. And we will falter, and we will grieve, and we will begin again, over and over. And in this community, we will find the strength to carry the sorrow together and to celebrate what is still beautiful and to kindle the hope that fuels action to begin again in love. So that march yesterday was one turning point, and today's worship is another, and tomorrow will bring another. And each one of us, each day, is part of turning towards a different world. So let us go forward. From here today, from this place, let us go forward into tomorrow, not with despair, but with conviction, with our presence and our choices and our courage to make a difference. And may we be guided by the values that hold us and lift us and the principles that sustain us. And may we just continue to turn towards each other and towards the earth and towards the future and hold it in active hope. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Our final hymn today is not one that you will find in the hymnal, so you can find it only on the screen behind me. And in following Reverend Lara's very powerful words, I would maybe invite you, I think, in this moment to think about how something like music, like art, the things in our lives that we have that can take us through that period of grief and paralysis and fear towards hope and courage, which for me, music is such a powerful part of that, and a song like this is a powerful part of that. Mariella will be joining me on guitar, and we will sing it for you once through, and then we'll invite you to join in. So we'll sing the first verse once and then invite you to join in. You can rise in body or spirit.
The tide
Is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The sun is rising, and so are we. The sun is rising, and so are we. The sun is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise as you are able and join us in singing our closing hymn, As Always, Spirit of Life. The words will appear on the screen in English and French. It's also number 123 in the gray hymnal.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
Joanna Macy wrote, "Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life on whose behalf we can act. We belong to this world. So may we turn again and again with gratitude and with courage. May we draw the line, not in despair, but in hope. And may our children's children look back and say they acted, they hoped, they cared for the earth." May it be so, and blessed be.